I remember the exact moment the call came in. It was a humid Saturday morning in Savannah, Georgia, and the cicadas were already shrieking outside my window like it was July. I stood barefoot in my small kitchen, swirling a spoon in my cold brew, staring blankly at the overripe bananas on the counter. My old dog, Murphy, lay snoring under the table, unaware that my entire life was about to shift with one simple ringtone. The screen lit up. Danielle, my younger sister. We hadn't spoken in months, not since the awkward silence after our mother's funeral the year before. She'd flown in from Denver, arrived late, left early, and didn't even stay for the little reading. We didn't fight exactly, we just floated apart, like two leaves on different sides of a stream. I loved her, but I didn't trust her. That had become our rhythm. I answered on the third ring. The same way you pick up when someone from your past calls you half expect them to be dying or about to ask for something. Catherine, she said, her voice warm and sugary, the way it always got when she was about to beg. I need a favor. I didn't say anything right away. I leaned against the counter, suddenly cold in my own house. Okay, I said slowly. Let's hear it. She launched into it like she'd rehearsed the pitch. She'd met someone. His name was Liam, British, charming, an investment consultant from Manchester, she said, with the kind of reverence most people reserve for Nobel Prize winners or celebrities. They'd met 6 months ago at a wine tasting event in Aspen. He'd proposed in Paris. She'd said yes before the dessert course. Now they were planning the wedding of their dreams, a luxurious ceremony on a private vineyard in Sonoma, California, with imported roses from Provence, a string quartet flown in from Vienna, and a reception menu designed by a Michelin-starred chef. She rattled it all off like a catalog item. I could almost hear her smiling through the phone. How on earth are you going to afford all this? I asked, the teacher in me kicking in. I didn't mean to sound judgmental, but come on, she worked part-time at a boutique in Denver and posted inspirational quotes on Instagram for branding clients. That's when she dropped it. We have most of the money, she said casually, but the bank won't approve the loan unless someone with a better credit history cosigns. I felt my stomach twist. I knew what was coming next. It's just $90,000. I blinked, thinking I'd misheard her. 90,000? As in, almost 6 figures? She laughed a little, like I was being dramatic. It's not like you'll actually have to pay it. It's just a formality. I'll handle all the payments. I just need your name on it. I glanced around my modest 2-bedroom house bought for $189. 4 years ago in a quiet neighborhood just outside Savannah's historic district. My furniture was secondhand. My car was an old Honda Civic. And I made $52,000 a year teaching high school history. I wasn't drowning. But I wasn't exactly living in champagne dreams either. I'd been chipping away at my own student loans for the better part of a decade. Danielle, I said, slowly, that is a lot of money. I can't just sign for something like that. But Kathy, she said softly, using the nickname only she ever got away with. This is the most important day of my life. I've never asked you for anything. Not like this. And she was right. I was always the one cleaning up after her messes. Sure, but she never asked me to. I just did. It's what older sisters do. When she crashed Mom's car at 19, I was the one who dealt with the insurance. When she dropped out of college 3 semesters in, I helped her move back into Mom's house. And when Mom died and left us both half of a tiny life insurance policy, I used mine to pay off debt. She used hers to backpack through Italy. I sighed and looked out the kitchen window at the tiny patch of backyard I was still paying for. You promise you'll pay every cent? I asked, already knowing I was going to do it. I swear, she said, breathless. It's just paperwork. A week later, I received the loan agreement through a digital notary service. It was real. $90,000. A wedding loan from a mid-sized finance company in California. Danielle's name was at the top of the document. Mine was right below, marked cosigner. I sat with it for 3 days before signing. I read every clause, every penalty. every legal threat they'd throw at me if the borrower defaulted. And still, I signed it. I don't know why. Maybe because I wanted to believe she'd changed. Maybe because I missed having family, and she was the last one I had. Or maybe, deep down, I still carried that big sister guilt, the part of me that felt responsible for her, even when I knew better. I clicked the e-signature button on a rainy Wednesday night, then stared at the screen as the confirmation email rolled in. "Thank you." The email read, "Your submission has been received." Just like that, I was on the hook for $90,000. I didn't know it yet, but my sister had already started packing her bags, not for a honeymoon, not for a new life in California, but for something far darker. And I had just signed my name into her escape plan. After I signed the loan papers, it was like Danielle had won the lottery. Everything moved faster than I could track. One day she was in Denver, and the next, she was sending me a video from a penthouse suite in New York City, gushing about the fitting for her Vera Wang gown. 2 days after that, she was in Los Angeles, posing with a celebrity hairstylist in front of a wall of peonies. Then, a selfie with Liam champagne in hand, Tuscan hills in the background, some luxurious-looking infinity pool behind them. I kept thinking, when did she get a passport? Isn't this all amazing? She beamed at me during a FaceTime call. Her skin looked airbrushed, glowing with that expensive kind of light people only seem to get from serums. That cost half my paycheck. She was walking through a glass-walled suite, the Pacific Ocean crashing behind her. "This is the Big Sur resort we're booking for the reception. You're going to love it. You'll be my maid of honor." Of course, I tried to smile. "It's beautiful, Danielle. But are you sure about all of this? That loan is a lot of money." She waved it off with her manicured hand, laughing. "Kathy, relax. We're good. Liam's got most of it covered, and I'm working with a planner who knows how to stretch a dollar." A dollar? That dress alone was probably worth more than my car. She hung up after blowing me a kiss through the camera. I stared at the black screen of my phone for a long moment, wondering what I had really just gotten involved in. 2 weeks later, a letter from the loan agency arrived in my mailbox. I assumed it was just a confirmation, but when I opened it, the words hit like a punch to the ribs. Balance due, $89,763. Note: primary borrower has not yet initiated repayment. I blinked at it, confused. Surely Danielle had made at least a down payment by now. I texted her immediately. "Me? Hey, just got something from the lender. Says you haven't made the first payment?" She replied almost instantly. "Danielle, ugh, yeah. Some delay on Liam's end. He's transferring funds from his account in the UK. It's just a stupid international bank hold. Don't worry." She was never worried. That was her superpower. But I was. I couldn't stop the tightness building in my chest, or the way my stomach coiled every time I saw a new email notification from the lender. I logged into my own credit monitoring service out of curiosity and froze. My credit score had dropped 22 points. The loan hadn't defaulted yet, but the delay was being recorded. My name was on this thing, which meant every missed step dinged me just as hard. I sat down on the edge of my bed and rubbed my temples. I hadn't even told anyone yet. Not my coworkers. Not my best friend, Nicole. Not even my neighbor, Helen, who always noticed when my trash bins were even slightly out of line. Maybe I didn't want to say it out loud. Maybe part of me was afraid it would make it all real. That night, I poured myself a large glass of boxed red wine and sat on my laptop, determined to find out more about Liam. If he was such a financial genius, surely he had a LinkedIn or a company website or something. I typed in his full name, Liam Patrick Green, into every social media platform I could think of. Nothing. Google gave me a few generic hits, including a wedding planner's blog post with a blurry photo that might have been him, but no actual bio, no credentials, no signs of employment. I went back to the original email Danielle had sent me months ago with the wedding details and searched for the venue name. Selena Vines Estate Private Vineyard, Big Sur. I clicked the link. Page not found. I searched the name again. Nothing in Yelp, Google Maps, or even TripAdvisor. I checked property records for Big Sur. No such place. My heart began to pound. I texted her again, this time more direct. Me, Danny L. I tried looking up the wedding venue. Are you sure it's real? No answer. I waited 20 minutes and tried again. Still nothing. By midnight, I was full-on spiraling. I left her a voicemail. My voice cracked halfway through. Danny L., please call me back. I need to talk to you. The next morning, I called again and again. Voicemail. Her Instagram was locked now. I hadn't even noticed when she switched to private. Her bio had changed from future Mrs. Green to nothing at all. I checked the lender portal again. Still no payment. Due date officially passed? Balance now flagged as late. And then came the third red flag. I logged into my own bank account, something I hadn't done all week, and found that my pre-approval on a new low-interest credit card had been rescinded. Just gone. I called the bank, furious and panicked. We reevaluate all offers based on your current financial liabilities, the representative explained politely. Your status as a co-signer on a defaulted high-risk loan significantly affects our underwriting. My ears were ringing. I barely heard her. Defaulted. High risk. That's when the truth started to take shape, not in words or facts, but in that cult. Crawling feeling deep in your gut that something is terribly, irreversibly wrong. Danny L. hadn't just disappeared for a weekend. She was gone, and she'd taken $90,000 of someone else's name with her mine. It was a Thursday morning when the call came. The sun hadn't even warmed the side of the house yet, and Murphy was still curled at my feet, snoring away. I was sipping stale coffee and grading you as history essays on the Reconstruction era when my phone rang. The number on the screen was unfamiliar California area code. This is Catherine, I said, expecting maybe a telemarketer or someone trying to sell me solar panels. Ms. Martin, the voice said crisply. This is Helena Rodriguez with Union Bay Finance, calling in regard to your co-signed loan account ending in 7,642. My stomach tightened. I stood up slowly and walked into the next room, away from Murphy and the sound of my neighbor mowing his lawn. Yes, I asked, dreading the answer. I'm afraid we're contacting you today because the primary borrower, Ms. Danny L. Martin, has missed the first 3 monthly payments. The account is now considered delinquent, and as the co-signer, you are fully liable for the outstanding balance. My ears were ringing. How much? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. $90,412, including accrued interest and penalties. I didn't respond. Couldn't dot my mouth had gone dry. We can arrange a repayment plan to help ease the burden, she continued in that mechanical, empathetic tone people use when they read bad news off a script. I thanked her, barely, and hung up before my knees gave out. I sat down on the stairs in my front hallway and stared at the hardwood floor like it had betrayed me too. The silence pressed in all around me, thick and suffocating. I called Danny L. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. I tried texting her. Tried every version of where are you? And please call me that I could think of without sounding like I was unraveling, which I was. I pulled up our old text thread and scrolled through it, months of emojis. Photos of flower arrangements, voice notes of her squealing about the perfect wine pairing. And now, nothing. Just my own unread messages piling up like unanswered prayers. I opened Instagram and searched her profile. Private. The bio was gone. Her old posts archived. Liam's profile gone too. I searched for his name on Facebook, LinkedIn, even some forums for finance professionals. Nothing. It was like he had never existed. The next call I made was to her old roommate in Denver, Tasha, a girl I'd met once in passing when I visited Danny L. for Thanksgiving 2 years ago. She answered on the second ring. Oh, wow, Catherine, she said, sounding both surprised and cautious. Hey, sorry to bother you. I've been trying to get in touch with Danielle. Have you seen her? There was a long pause. She moved out like 3 weeks ago. Said she was starting a new chapter in Europe or something. Paris first, I think. She didn't say much else. Just left? Europe, I echoed, my voice thin. Did she leave a forwarding address? Anyone she was staying with? Tasha hesitated. No. And honestly, she was acting kind of weird those last few days. Had this huge suitcase, and she threw out a bunch of stuff. Told me she was untethering from debt. Thought it was a metaphor. Guess not. I hung up, thanked her first, but the words rang in my head like church bells. Untethering from debt. No wedding. No vineyard. No fiancé. No payments. Just a sister who saw a way out and took it leaving me behind to carry what she wouldn't. I sat with that realization for hours, unable to move. The walls of my house, which once felt safe, now pressed inward, like they knew I had made a mistake. The loan contract sat on my kitchen counter, and I picked it up again, rereading it like maybe, just maybe, there was some loophole I'd missed. Some fine print that would release me. But it was all there, in brutal legal clarity. Cosigner assumes full liability in the event of borrower default. And that was it? I wasn't the sister anymore. I was the collateral damage. For the first time in years, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Not just from the financial weight of it, but the betrayal. My own blood. The girl I held when she had chickenpox. The girl I picked up from high school dances when she got dumped. The one who held my hand when our mother died. How do you mourn someone who's still alive? How do you forgive someone who doesn't even have the courage to lie to your face? Over the next few days, the pressure mounted. My credit report flagged the delinquency in red. My inbox filled with emails about urgent resolution and risk of legal action. I called a financial advisor, Mark Jeffries, a friend of a friend, and when I explained the situation, he whistled softly. This kind of thing ruins people for years, he said bluntly. You're lucky it wasn't more. Lucky. It felt like the cruelest word in the English language. I considered filing a police report, maybe even pursuing legal action, but I didn't know where she was. There was no proof of fraud, just proof of my own poor judgment. I'd signed willingly, out of love, out of loyalty, out of some stupid hope that family meant something. One night, I sat at the kitchen table with all the paperwork in front of me. I added it all up. The monthly payment would be close to $1,300, even on the lowest plan. That was more than my mortgage, more than my salary could reasonably stretch. I'd have to refinance, maybe pick up tutoring jobs, sell something, start over. Danielle, wherever she was, had left me with more than just debt. She'd left a silence so thick it filled every room in my house. And yet, despite everything, despite the rage, the humiliation, the dread, I found myself scrolling through old photos of us. Boston, 2012. Thanksgiving, 2016. That grainy selfie we took the day we cleaned out Mom's apartment. She was smiling in every photo, so was I. And I hated that I missed her. The collection call started like clockwork, first at 9 a.m., then again at lunch, and one final ring just before dinner. Their tone was polite at first, then increasingly firm, always circling back to the same line. As the co-signer, you are responsible for the remaining balance. That phrase became a kind of chant in my life. I'd hear it even in silence, like a whisper curling through the vents of my modest house in Savannah. I remember the day I finally accepted it. Danielle was gone, and she wasn't coming back, not with an apology, not with a check, not even with a reason. She had vanished into the folds of Europe, and I had been left behind with a signature and a number, $90,000 for $112. I sat at my kitchen table, calculator in hand, and went line by line through my finances. There was no way around it. I had to remortgage the house. The process was humiliating and slow, and the bank was quick to remind me that my co-signed loan had impacted my credit. The interest rate hurt, but it was either that or risk losing the one thing I actually owned. Then came the car. My 2007 Honda Accord reliable, dented, mine. I sold it for $3,200 to a college student in Athens, Georgia, who didn't care about the cracked dashboard or rusted muffler. With the money, I made my first 2 loan payments and bought a secondhand bike off Facebook Marketplace. I started biking to work. Every morning I'd leave early to avoid the heat, coasting through side streets with my backpack strapped tight and my hair tucked under a helmet I bought with a Target gift card. People waved. I smiled back, but something in me had shifted. Gone were the lazy weekends, the occasional splurges on books or new shoes. I canceled streaming services, stopped eating out, started packing sandwiches in reused bags. I picked up evening tutoring sessions, helping students prep for the SATs and catch up on AP history. Saturday mornings were spent in the public library teaching GED classes for adults, who reminded me of how close I was to slipping beneath the surface myself. I became efficient, calculated, mechanical. Even, I lived like someone serving time not in a cell, but in a financial purgatory of my sister's making. And yet, I kept that photo of us on the fridge, taken in Boston, winter of 2012. Danielle was wearing my oversized coat, her cheeks red from the cold, and I had my arm around her. We were laughing at probably something stupid and small, and for a moment, we looked like sisters from a greeting card. I couldn't bring myself to take it down. People asked about her sometimes. My coworkers, my neighbor Helen, even Nicole, who eventually noticed I never talked about Danielle anymore. "How's your sister?" they'd ask casually, not knowing they were poking a bruise so deep it still pulsed when touched. She moved, I'd say, started a new life somewhere in Europe. That was true, technically. I never told anyone the full story, not even Nicole. What would I say? That I co-signed a $90,000 wedding loan and my sister ghosted me like a bad Tinder date? That I believed her when she said "I swear" and signed my financial future away for a party? That never happened. No one wants to hear how stupid you feel when your own blood lies to your face. So I carried it alone. But something strange started to happen after the first 6 months. I got stronger. Not anger strong. Not bitter strong. Just solid. Like stone that's been weathered. Not broken. I learned how to negotiate with creditors. I joined an online forum for victims of financial scams and family fraud. I learned the term financial ghosting and discovered I wasn't alone. Turns out sisters, brothers, boyfriends, even parents do this to the people who trust them. There's no clear legal recourse. You signed. You believed. But knowing I wasn't the only one helped. A little. I learned to budget with precision. I learned to say no. I stopped loaning people things I couldn't afford to lose. And slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt the wall she knocked over. But the trust? That's another story. I don't trust easily anymore. I pause when someone asks for help. I hesitate before signing anything, even at the grocery store. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just break your heart, it rewires your brain. And yet, some nights I still dream of her. I picture her in a cozy flat somewhere in Spain or France, wearing a silk robe, sipping wine, scrolling through her phone. She laughs at something Liam says, though I don't even know if he was real. Sometimes she's alone, sometimes she's in a crowd. But in every dream, she never looks back. I've played out every version of the ending in my head. One where she sends a letter, folded neatly with an apology inside. One where a money order arrives, unsigned, with no return address. One where she shows up at my door in tears, begging for forgiveness. But none of those things have happened. Probably never will. So instead, I wake up, make coffee, and go to work. I grade essays. I answer emails. I pay bills. I breathe. Some days, when the air is cool and the sky is soft pink before dusk, I let myself imagine a version of Danielle that didn't leave. One who paid the loan. One who said thank you. One who remembered what being a sister meant. But that's just fantasy. Reality is quieter, harder, mine. And when people ask why I don't take risks anymore, why I list so carefully. I just smile and say, it's a long story. But deep down, I remember every dollar and every lie